Part 293. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2921. Chapter 2921 Feeling Flattered. Chiao Mian Mian, is it, you? Did you call me to ask for something, as if he couldn't believe that this call was from Chiao Mian Mian. After the call was answered, Gong Zili fell silent. After a while, there was a sound. Because of uncertainty, even speaking is hesitant. That cautious tone sounded like he was flattered. Chiao Mian Mian glanced at Madame Gong standing aside, and said with a somewhat complicated mood, "Well, it's me. It's really you. I thought I was wrong." Gong Zili was silent for a few more seconds. His voice was very soft, as if he was afraid of scaring her. "Then please call me. Is it true? What's the matter? If you need my help, just ask." Chiao Mian Mian. This is why she wants to keep a distance from Miyazawa. She is not emotionally sensitive, so it is impossible that she cannot sense that Gong Zili is interested in her. It was precisely because she felt it that she didn't want to have too much contact with him. One is because Mo Yesi-minded. The second reason is that she also cares about it. She knows very well that if you can't give the other person what he wants, then don't let the other person feel that there is an opportunity to take advantage of it, and don't give it even a glimmer of hope. Gong Zili, are you having a conflict with your mother? Chiao Mian Mian didn't want Gong Zili to have any misunderstanding, so she directly explained the reason for her call. Your mother found me, and she hopes you can go home. My mother found you. Gong Zili's voice suddenly became colder, and the low pressure came out from the phone. She just called me, but I didn't answer. So you are still together now? Yes, Chiao Mian Mian whispered. Mrs. Gong is right next to me. Hearing that Mrs. Gong was standing next to her, Gong Zili's voice suddenly became tense. She didn't embarrass you, did she? Did she say anything unpleasant to you? No matter what she said, don't take it to heart. Don't take it seriously. She may have some misunderstandings about what happened between us, so. No, you misunderstood. Chiao Mian Mian interrupted him. Mrs. Gong didn't make things difficult for me. She just asked me to call you and persuade you to go home. That's it? Well, that's just it. I'm sorry, this is a matter of the Gong family, and you shouldn't be involved. This is indeed a matter of your Gong family and has nothing to do with me. Chiao Mian Mian deliberately spoke in a distant tone, but I see that Mrs. Gong is very sad, and she also hopes that you can go home. She said that you two had some conflicts before. She said a lot of angry things. She regrets it now. As long as you can go home, she will never interfere in your affairs in the future. Gong Zili was silent for a moment. You want me to go home, right? Chiao Mian Mian frowned slightly and corrected, it's not my intention, it's Madame Gong's. I just conveyed it to her. As for what you decide, it's your own business and I have no right to interfere. The palace lady on the side suddenly became anxious when she heard what she said. Miss Chiao, you have to help me persuade him. You can't talk like that, Madame Gong said anxiously. What if he refuses to come back if you say that? Gong Zili heard Mrs. Gong's voice. He spoke in a deep voice and lowered his voice to Chiao Mian Mian. Mom is next to you, right? Give her your phone and I'll say a few words to her. Oh, okay. Chiao Mian Mian immediately handed the phone to Mrs. Gong. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2922. Chapter 2922 Restoring the relationship between the Gong family and the Mo family. Mrs. Gong hesitated for a few seconds before picking up the phone. After a moment, she hung up the phone with a happy face. Miss Chiao, thank you so much. Mrs. Gong turned her head and said to Chiao Mian Mian with a grateful face, Zili is willing to go home. Thanks to Miss Chiao for helping me persuade him, otherwise, I really don't know what to do. Miss Jiao, you have done me such a great favor, how can I express my gratitude to you? I didn't do anything. After hearing that Gong Zili was willing to go home, Chiao Mian had no intention of staying and continuing to have afternoon tea with Mrs. Gong. She said directly, since Mrs. Gong's matter has been resolved, then I will also. It's time to leave. Chiao Mian is telling the truth. She didn't say anything to Gong Zili at all. It was just a brief conveyance of the palace lady's intention. Can't be said to be persuasive. So she doesn't feel that this is her own credit. But Mrs. Gong insisted on taking the credit for her. After hearing that she wanted to leave, she refused to let her go just like that. Miss Jiao, there is nothing urgent. If there is nothing urgent to do immediately, you can do. You want to stay and talk to me. As soon as I saw Miss Jiao, I felt that I was particularly interested in her. I want to talk to you again. Chiao Mian. However, she felt that she and Madame Gong had no affinity. She didn't want to stay and say anything. Because she felt she had nothing to say to the palace lady. Is there anything else, Madame Palace? Chiao Mian asked. Speaking of which, there is something. Madame Gong raised her head and glanced at her, with a look in her eyes that was hesitant to speak. Obviously she wanted to say something. Chiao Mian waited for a while, but still didn't see Madame Gong speak, so she simply asked directly, Madame Gong, if you have anything to say, just tell me. If Madame Gong feels that it's not appropriate to talk now, then let's change it another day. Don't. Hearing her talk about another day, Mrs. Gong immediately felt relieved and hurriedly said, Miss Jiao, actually what I want to say is related to the Gong family and the Mo family. Presumably Miss Jiao also knows the current relationship between the Gong family and the Mo family. Originally, Gong and Mo were both. They are from an aristocratic family, and Zili and Yesi are also very good friends. However, due to some misunderstandings, the relationship between the two families was no longer as good as before. When Mrs. Gong said this, she paused deliberately. After looking at Chiao Mian's face, she slowly and tentatively said, I heard that this misunderstanding is related to Miss Jiao. If Arjia Zili is wrong, here I will apologize to Miss Jiao on her behalf. I hope Miss Jiao can help persuade Yesi. Everyone knows that Yesi takes Miss Jiao very seriously, and he will definitely take your words seriously. I'm really afraid that if we continue to act like this, the two of us will become enemies. It doesn't matter. It's not a good thing for either the Mo family or the Gong family. If Miss Jiao can play a mediating role in this matter and restore the relationship between Gong Mo and Gong Mo, I will definitely thank Miss Jiao. It turns out that Mrs. Gong wanted to restore the relationship between the Gong family and the Mo family. This matter is indeed related to her. Chiao Mian also felt that it would be a pity if Gong Zili and Mo Yesi became strangers. They have been friends for many years. If it weren't for her, probably, the relationship between the Gong family and the Mo family is still very good, and Gong Zili and Mo Yesi are still very good friends. It was because of her that the relationship between Mo Yesi and Gong Zili, which had been friends for many years, broke off. Chiao Mian always felt guilty. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2923. Chapter 2923. I regret telling the truth to Mo Yesi. So Mrs. Gong made such a request, Chiao Mian did not refuse, nor did she nod in agreement. Asterisk. When Chiao Mian arrived at Mo's house, Mo Yesi was in a meeting. She played 2 games and was about to play the third one when Mo Yesi returned to the office after the meeting. I made mung bean cake and red bean cake for you today. I know you don't like sweet things, so I only added a little sugar. I made soup for the remaining mung beans and red beans and chilled them. I put them in your office, it's on the table, try it and see how it tastes. Chiao Mian quit the game, stood up and walked towards Mo Yesi. The man stretched out his long arms, hugged her into his arms, and led her to the desk. How long have you been here? It doesn't take long, maybe half an hour. I heard that you took a call on the way and went to meet someone. Mo Yesi hugged Chiao Mian and sat down, placing his hands on her slender waist, asking casually. Chiao Mian knew that the driver would definitely tell him about this, so she didn't hide it. She nodded and said, well, I went to see Mrs. Gong. As soon as she finished speaking, she felt the man's arm tighten around her waist. Chiao Mian lowered her head and saw Mo Yesi's deep black eyes looking at her intently. He didn't speak either, but the look he looked at her made Chiao Mian feel a little scared. Don't look at me like this. Chiao Mian reached out to cover his eyes. You look like I've done something I shouldn't have done. Can't I go see Madame Palace? Of course I can, I don't mean to blame you. Mo Yesi grabbed her naughty little hand, pressed his fingertips against her soft palm and squeezed. Then what did she say to you after you met? Chiao Mian was silent. She felt that it was nothing for her to go see the madam. Mo Yesi would not be angry with her because of this, or feel bad about it. But he will probably mind what happens next. Anyway, whenever Gong Zili was involved, he didn't mind. Huh? What did you say? Why didn't you say anything? Mo Yesi pinched her waist lightly again and curled his lips. I can't just chat with you about family matters. Let me guess, she asked, are you doing it because of Gong Zili? Well, you guessed it right. Chiao Mian glanced at him and saw that his expression was normal. Before continuing, she said that she and Gong Zili had a conflict. Gong Zili wanted to break away from the Gong family, and it was very difficult. I haven't been back to Gong's house for a long time. So, I want you to persuade Gong Zili to go home. Mo Yesi said this with a sneer. Chiao Mian. She knew it. That's why she didn't want to say it. She glanced at his face again and saw that the word unpleasant was written on the man's handsome face, and it wasn't just general unhappiness, he looked quite unhappy. She nodded despite the pressure. Well, that's it? The cold gaze suddenly fell on her, followed by the man's voice, which also became much cooler. Did you persuade me? Chiao Mian couldn't lie, so she nodded bravely. At the first moment, it felt as if the surrounding temperature had dropped by at least 10 degrees. Someone suddenly transformed into a supercooler, blowing air conditioning towards her. Did he listen? When the word he came out of Mo Yesi's mouth, it was particularly cold. Chiao Mian. She regretted telling the truth to Mo Yesi. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2924. Chapter 2924. Mo's house called. Knowing that he is jealous. Ming knew that he cared about Gong Zili. Why should she tell him the truth honestly? Can't you just lie to him? In any case, it was impossible for him to actually go to the palace lady and ask. He and Mrs. Gong were angry for a while. When I called him, it was equivalent to giving him a step down. Chiao Mian glanced at Mo Yesi's face and considered her words. I just conveyed the message to the palace. Madam, it was Madame Gong who answered the phone. This means that Gong Zili's promise to go back has nothing to do with her. It's not because of her. So she hoped that a jealous person would stop being jealous. That's it? I don't know if Mo Yesi believed what she said, but I could tell something from his tone. As for his complexion, it seems to be a little better than before. That's right. Chiao Mian nodded quickly. That's it? I didn't say more than 5 sentences to him. Humph, let's forget it this time. The man snorted softly and squeezed her slender waist again. His tone was very domineering. In the future, you should stay less involved in his affairs. What's more, This is an internal matter of the Gong family. Nothing to do with you. What happened between their mother and son has nothing to do with you. If something like this happens again in the future, don't care about it? Well, I won't care about it from now on. Xiao Mian was like an obedient baby. She would listen to whatever Mo Yesi said. I also saw Mrs. Gong crying very sadly this time, and I couldn't bear it. But you are right, this is a matter between mother and son and has nothing to do with me. Anyway, I will not meddle in other people's business in the future. At least, she will no longer interfere with Gong Zili's business. Although she and Gong Zili are innocent, since someone cares a lot, she'd better keep a distance. After all, family harmony is more important than anything else. Of course her husband is the most important. Seeing that she had a good attitude, Mo Yesi finally stopped venting his cold air on her, and his stern face softened a lot, his thin lips slightly raised, and he came out with a doting smile. Well, be good, baby. Seeing that the crisis was over, Xiao Mian was secretly relieved. She stretched out her hand and hooked the man's neck, and said in a soft and coquettish voice, "You haven't tasted the cake I made yet. Try it quickly to see if it tastes good. I've been working on it for 2 whole hours, and I'm very tired." Good. Mo Yesi let go of her, leaned over to open the food box, and took out a piece of mung bean cake. The food box is insulated, so the mung bean cake is still as warm as it came out of the oven. Under Xiao Mian's expectant gaze, Mo Yesi took a bite of the mung bean cake. "How is it? Is it delicious?" Xiao Mian blinked, waiting expectantly for his evaluation. Mo Yesi swallowed the food in his mouth and slightly curled his lips and said, "The sweetness is just right, not bad." Xiao Mian immediately became happy. "I know you don't like to eat something too sweet, so I added a little sugar. Originally I didn't want to add any sugar, but I thought it wouldn't taste good without adding sugar at all." Mo Yesi has never tasted any delicacies. Naturally, Xiao Mian's cooking skills cannot be compared with those of the chefs who have served him. But Mo Yesi thinks the pastries made by his wife are the most delicious in the world. Asterisk. After Mo Yesi got off work, Xiao Mian was discussing with him what to eat at night when Mo's house called. The caller is Zhangbo. Xiao Mian watched as Mo Yesi's face suddenly turned particularly ugly not long after he answered the phone. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2925. Chapter 2925. Don't dare to think about it anymore. Xiao Mian could even feel the violent aura emanating from him. After a moment, Mo Yesi hung up the phone with a gloomy expression. What happened? Xiao Mian looked at Mo Yesi's face at the moment and had a bad feeling. Mo Yesi pursed his lips, his eyes were cold, and his dark eyes looked at Xiao Mian. After a few seconds, he said in a deep voice, "Yu was taken away." What? Xiao Mian didn't react for a moment. Yu was taken away. By whom? Wasn't Yu always with Luoluo? To be precise, it was stolen. Mo Yesi's deep voice was full of cruelty, and the person who cooperated with the other party to steal Yu turned out to be Mom. Now the Mo house is in chaos. Tuan, Grandma fainted when she heard the news. Mian, we have to go back immediately. Yu was stolen. Xiao Mian almost fainted. She felt dizzy and her face turned pale instantly. How could this happen? Isn't there someone at home always looking at Yu? So many nannies, maids, and so many bodyguards. How could Yu be stolen? Now is not the time to delve into this. We must go back immediately. The top priority is to get Yu back as soon as possible. Yes, now we need to get Yu back as soon as possible. Xiao Mian took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down, but her hands were still shaking uncontrollably. Yu is Zhang Luli's life. Now that something like this happened, Even she was worried and scared to death. She was really worried about Zhang Luli's current state. She was more worried about little Yu who was stolen. Because her intuition told her that this matter might be related to Tang Ya. If it is really related to Tang Ya, if Tang Ya uses little Yu to take revenge on the Mo family and Mo Yunchen. Xiao Mian didn't dare to think any further. Asterisk. Second young master, second young madam, you are back. As soon as Xiao Mian and Mo Yesi got out of the car, Uncle John came over anxiously. The eldest young master went out to look for someone in person. The eldest young lady is in a very bad condition now and has been crying. The old lady is still unconscious. Wake up. We don't even have a backbone at home now. It would be great if you could come back, second young master. Hearing that Zhang Luli had been crying, Xiao Mian felt extremely distressed. Is the young lady in bad condition? She asked anxiously. Zhang Bo nodded, yes, the eldest lady looks very bad. I'm really worried that she will faint from crying. Second young madam, you and the eldest lady are best friends. You should go and comfort her quickly. The young lady will definitely feel better after seeing you. Why hasn't grandma woke up yet? Mo Yesi frowned, hasn't the doctor seen you? Uncle Zhang immediately replied, I called the doctor as soon as possible. He said he fainted because of his anger, but it's nothing serious. He will wake up after taking a rest. Mo Yesi didn't say anything more and walked quickly forward holding Xiao Mian's hand. Asterisk. Xiao Mian quickly walked into the hall. At a glance, she saw Zhang Luli sitting on the sofa, his face pale and out of breath from crying. When the maids in the hall saw her and Mo Yesi walking in, they all greeted them respectfully, second young master, second young madam. Zhang Luli immediately raised his head when he heard the maid calling second young madam. The moment she saw Xiao Mian, her tears continued to fall on her face like broken beads. She spoke with a hoarse voice, Mian. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2926. Chapter 2926. What happened? Xiao Mian walked over quickly. She looked at Zhang Luli, who was about to collapse. She felt heartbroken. She stretched out her arms and hugged her. Lulu, we will definitely get Yu back. Don't cry anymore. Yu will be fine. It'll be fine. But at this time, Zhang Luli couldn't listen to anything at all. She was on the verge of emotional collapse. She hugged Xiao Mian and burst into tears. Mian, it's all my fault, it's all my fault. If I keep looking at Yu and don't let Yu leave my side, Yu won't be taken away. It's all my fault. Why should I leave Yu? I deserve to die, I really deserve to die. Mian, I'm so scared of Yu. Mian, I'm so scared, I'm really scared. Zhang Luli lay on Xiao Mian's shoulder. I couldn't help crying, and my whole body was shaking violently. Her hands were cold, and so was her body. After a while, Xiao Mian's shoulders were wet with tears. Zhang Luli kept blaming himself. I know that Yu is safest only if she is with me, but why should I hand her over to others in a daze? What on earth was I thinking at that time? Not a good mother. I lost my child, and I hate myself so much. No, Lulu, I can't blame you. Don't say that. I know how much you love Yu, and you definitely didn't mean to lose her. Stop blaming yourself like this. It's not your fault. Xiao Mian hugged her trembling best friend tightly. Listening to Zhang Luli complaining about herself over and over again, almost masochistically, Xiao Mian felt extremely uncomfortable. She had never seen Zhang Luli so broken and helpless. From the time she met Zhang Luli until now, in her impression, Zhang Luli is a very optimistic person. No matter what happens, she seems not to be affected, and she always has a smile on her face. Even though all the bad things happened to the Zhang family, they could not knock her down. But now, she is as fragile as a fragile porcelain doll and needs special protection. Zhang Luli like this made Xiao Mian very distressed. Blame me, Zhang Luli hated herself. I gave others the opportunity to take Yu away. If I hadn't handed Yu into other people's hands at that time, if I hadn't let Yu leave me at that time site, you won't. I really can't forgive myself, I'm such a bastard. Zhang Luli cried so sadly that Xiao Mian's eyes turned red. Luoluo, stop blaming yourself. This is really not your fault. Xiao Mian wanted to comfort Zhang Luli, but she didn't know how to comfort her. She felt that unless Yu was found, Zhang Luli wouldn't be able to listen to anything she said. She originally wanted to comfort Zhang Luli, but in the end she became two sisters holding each other's arms and crying together. Mo Yesi looked at the two people hugging each other and crying sadly, and lowered his voice and asked Uncle Zhang beside him, "What's going on? How could Yu be taken away?" Uncle Zhang sighed, with a trace of hesitation on his face. After a while, he told the whole story. Madam went to see the young lady and asked the young lady to accompany her to the temple to burn incense. My wife said that she found a very spiritual monk to bring blessings to the young lady. With the blessing of the monk, he can keep the young lady safe and healthy throughout her life. At first, the young lady didn't want to go, but she heard that the monk could bring blessings to the young lady. And finally went. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2927. Chapter 2927. Madam, she, dare not come back. When we arrived at the temple, my wife said that the eminent monk didn't see anyone else, so we needed to hand the young lady over to her and let her carry her to the eminent monk. How could the young lady have imagined that the madam would hand over her own granddaughter to an outsider to take away? The young lady waited for a long time without waiting for the young lady to come out. She broke in regardless of people's obstruction and found out that the so-called the eminent monk and the young lady are no longer here. Madam is really confused. Even Uncle Zhang thought that Mo was crazy to do such a thing. She is the little lady's grandmother. The Mo family finally gained a new bloodline, and everyone pampered her like a baby, and the pain was unbearable. But who would have thought that a grandmother could give up her granddaughter to others so cruelly? Although the madam and the eldest young lady had conflicts. This is something that is well known to everyone in the Mahist family. However, even if the madam has objections to the eldest young madam, she cannot do this. Young miss, you are of the Mo family's bloodline. How could she do such a thing if she wasn't crazy? The old lady was so angry that she fainted. The young lady almost fainted from crying, her eyes were so swollen that it made everyone feel distressed. Now, the eldest young master went to chase the person himself. But I don't know if the whereabouts of the person who took away the young lady has been found. What I'm worried about now is not that I can't find the young lady. Yunchinj is the territory of the Mo family, and the eldest young master will not let the person who took the young lady away have the opportunity to leave Yunchinj. As long as people are in Yun City, they will not be missing. The most fearful thing now is whether the person who took away the little lady will hurt the little lady. What is the purpose of that person? If the young lady falls into the wrong hands, every second is in danger. Where is mom now? Mo Yesi looked around but didn't see Mo. Madam, she, dare not come back. Having caused such a big disaster, Mo is already a sinner of the Mo family. How could she dare to come back and face other people? Mo Yesi asked Uncle Zhang some other questions, and Uncle Zhang answered them all. Second young master, will the little miss be fine? Uncle Zhang's eyes were full of worry. I don't know what kind of demon madam is possessed by. How could she hand the little miss into the hands of bad people? Isn't she worried that bad people will hurt the little lady? The little lady is her granddaughter. Mo Yesi pursed his lips and said nothing, but he almost knew what was going on. It is not difficult to guess the person who could make Mrsmo do such a stupid thing. Asterisk. Sister-in-law, don't worry, brother will definitely get you back. After asking clearly what happened, Mo Yesi turned and walked towards Chiao Mian and Zhang Luli, who were still hugging each other and crying. Among the group of people, he was the only one who was calm. The person who takes you away shouldn't hurt her. Hearing Mo Yesi's voice, Zhang Luli felt as if she had seen a savior. She rushed to Mo Yesi, held his arm tightly, and said excitedly, "Mr. God, you just said you would take you away. Is it true that yous people won't hurt her? Have you found out something? Why did that monk take you away? Who is he? Where is you now? Is she safe? Mr. God, you have always been very powerful. I believe everything you say. So, you will be fine, and we can definitely bring you back, right?" End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2928. Chapter 2928. I always feel that this matter has something to do with her. When Zhang Luli first met Mo Yesi, he worshipped him and called him a male god. In her eyes, Mo Yesi is a very powerful person. Even though she married Mo Shixiu, she still called Mo Yesi the same as before, a male god. Now was the time when she was the most helpless, frightened, and helpless, so Mo Yesi's words were like a drowning person grabbing a life-saving straw for her. She was now eager to get out of Mo Yesi's words. He found comfort and hope in Si. At this moment, she would believe whatever Mo Yesi said. When Zhang Luli reached out to grab Mo Yesi, the man's brows furrowed uncontrollably. Except for Chiao Mian, he would still feel very uncomfortable if anyone of the opposite touched him. But Zhang Luli is Chiao Mian's best friend and is still his sister-in-law, so even though his body reacted immediately with rejection, he still suppressed the discomfort. Yes, you will be fine, and my eldest brother and I will definitely bring her back safely. Really? My dear, are you telling the truth? Yes, Mo Yesi assured again, you will be fine. She will return to you safely. But before that, sister-in-law, you have to stabilize your emotions and calm down first. After Mo Yesi finished speaking, he turned his head and glanced at Chiao Mian, who was also crying with red eyes. Mian, don't cry anymore. My sister-in-law is already emotionally unstable now. You cry with her, she just wants to. It will be more panic. I'm going to find my elder brother now. You and my sister-in-law are waiting for news at home. No matter who the other party is, it's impossible for him to leave Yunchinj with you. As long as you is still in Yunchinj, we will definitely be able to find the person. But, I want to be with you. Chiao Mian wanted to tell Mo Yesi her guess. You should stay at home with your sister-in-law and grandma. Mo Yesi walked up to her, stretched out his hand to pull her up, and gently wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes with his long fingers. My eldest brother and I are not here. Grandma will wake up later. There is no one at home. Besides, my sister-in-law needs you to be with her now. Okay. Chiao Mian didn't say anything more about joining him. She pursed her lips and whispered, then can you really get you back? Mo Yesi, I think. Chiao Mian glanced at Zhang Luli, who was standing next to him with a dazed expression, and lowered his voice, do you think it's possible that you was taken away? It's related to Tang Yat. I always feel that, this matter has something to do with her. Chiao Mian didn't dare to speak too loudly. She was afraid that Zhang Luli would be even more worried if she heard it. Because she is also worried. Tang Ya seems to have a deep resentment towards the Mo family. If she was the one who had Yuiyu taken away, then Yuiyu's situation at the moment is still dangerous. Who knows if Tanya will vent her resentment towards the Mo family on Yuiyu. Although Xiao Mian didn't want this to happen. But people's hearts are unpredictable, and no one can guarantee anything. There is a possibility, so I have to go to my elder brother now and tell him about Tanya. If it is really Tanya, she will definitely call. So whether it is her, I believe I will know soon. Then be careful. Xiao Mian grabbed his sleeves, with worry in her eyes. You are also from the Mo family. If she sets some trap for you, it will be very dangerous. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2929. Chapter 2929. It's up to you to bear the responsibility. I know Mo. Yes, he softened his voice, his eyes full of endearment. I will protect myself for you. Asterisk. Tanya looked at the little Nuwa who was placed on the bed with an expressionless face. Her fingers coated with red cardamom slowly stretched out to the little girl's white and tender face, which could easily squeeze out water. She easily touched the little girl's tender skin. A red mark was drawn. Then she waited for the little girl to cry. But after waiting for a while, the little girl, who had her eyes closed and snored sweetly, showed no reaction. The little girl's eyes are still closed, with thick and curled eyelashes covering her eyes. Her delicate and straight little nose is slightly closed, and her small mouth, which is pinker than rose petals, is also closed, but the corners of her mouth are slightly upward. She is laughing. I don't know what I was dreaming about, but I smiled sweetly. When I smiled, there were two shallow pear pits on my lips. The little girl is very beautiful. Her skin is white and tender, and her facial features are small and delicate, like a peach with a sweet fragrance. It is difficult for people not to like her. Even Tanya had to admit that she was soft-hearted when she was shaving the little girl's face just now. Otherwise, how could there be just a red mark on the little girl's delicate face? This is the lightest she has ever done to others. I don't know what happened just now, but she couldn't bear to deal too hard. Little thing, you have a big heart, and you can still sleep so soundly. Tanya was a little angry at her soft-heartedness just now, looking at the little girl who was still sleeping soundly. As if to prove something, she looked at the little girl, stretched out his hand again. She sneered and said, I don't want to bully a little baby, but who told you to be of the Mo family's blood? If you want to blame, just blame yourself for being born in the Mo family. Of course, there is also your stupid grandma. Without her help, my plan would not have progressed so smoothly. The Mo family now has 3,000 pampered little princesses, the apple of Mo Shixiu's eye. You said that if something happened to you, the Mo family would still be able to live in harmony. When the time comes, will the old lady of the Mo family forgive her daughter-in-law? Can Mo Yunshin forgive his wife? Mo Shixiu, can he forgive his mother? Tell me, if something happens to you, can your grandmother, MRSMO, still stay in the Mo family? Tanya said, her laughter gradually getting louder. Even if she stays in the Mo family, the relationship between the Mo family and the Mo family will still be there. Can we be as harmonious as before? Tanya's hand has slowly reached to the little girl's neck. Little thing, your neck is so thin. She gently traced her fingers on the little girl's neck, sighing as she stroked, it's so thin that I only need to use a little force on my hand to make your neck thin will be broken. It's really fragile. I really don't want to do this. To be honest, if you were not of the Mo family's blood, I would quite like you. But why did you happen to be born in the Mo family? The mistakes your grandfather made back then can only be caused by you. Take the responsibility. Speaking of which, this little girl is related to her by blood. She is still the little girl's aunt. This is probably why she couldn't bear it just now. After all, the blood of the Mo family flows in their bodies. Because of this blood relationship, she is reluctant to do it. It must be for this reason. Otherwise, she would not be merciful. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 2930. Chapter 2930 must be like this. It must be like this. What a pity, you little one will never have the chance to see how wonderful this world is. Poor little one, don't be so unlucky in your next life. Tanya tightened her fingers little by little. She stared intently at the little girl's delicate and beautiful face, wanting to see if this little girl, who was sleeping soundly and didn't know she would die soon, would continue to sleep if her breathing was not smooth. Can she still sleep? If she never wakes up and ends her life in her sleep, the departure will not be too painful. Just when Tanya's fingers tightened a little more, the little girl finally felt uncomfortable. The small pear pit at the corner of her lips disappeared, her sweet smile disappeared, and her pink face wrinkled into a ball. Her thick and long eyelashes trembled twice, and then she slowly opened her eyes. The moment the little girl opened her eyes, Tanya felt as if someone had tapped her acupoints. The fingers on the little girl's neck froze. It was obvious that she could easily break the neck with a little more force, but it's no longer possible. She saw a pair of eyes more beautiful than the stars. The pink carved little figure has clear and bright eyes. The eyes are as black as ripe grapes. The ring in the middle of the eyes is very bright. When looking towards people, the eyes seem to be able to speak. Probably because she had never seen Tanya before, the little girl blinked with a curious expression on her face. She held her finger in her mouth and looked at it for a while, then started laughing. She smiled very sweetly. The laughter was clear and crisp, like the sound of the silver bells on the wrists clashing together. Then she screamed something like babble. Her voice was very healing. After listening to her babble a few times, Tanya's eyes had a soft light that she didn't even feel. Especially when the little girl smiled at her, she actually wanted to reach out and touch the little girl's head. Her hand really stretched out. When she stretched out her hand in the air, she seemed to suddenly come back to her senses. She looked at her stretched out hand, and then looked down at the little girl who was still giggling at her. The expression on her face suddenly changed. It's hard to look at. Damn it! What happened to her just now? She actually softened her heart again. She actually relented to the same person twice. This is not her style at all. Tanya hated this feeling of not being under her control, not to mention that the person who made her lose control twice in a row was a little girl who was still drinking milk. She didn't believe that she could be influenced by a little girl again and again. As if to prove that she would not be influenced by anyone, Tanya sullenly extended her hand to the little girl again. A fierce look flashed in her eyes. This time, she will never be soft-hearted. Just when Tanya's hand reached the little girl's neck and was about to pinch it hard, her cell phone suddenly rang. Hearing the bells ringing one after another behind him, Tanya hesitated and slowly retracted his fingers. She lowered her eyes and glanced at the little girl who was still smiling heartlessly at her. She gritted her teeth and said, "Little thing, I'll end your life later. I'll just let you live for a few more minutes." Asterisk. Tanya turned around and picked up the mobile phone placed on the cabinet. A series of familiar numbers is displayed on the screen of the mobile phone. Tanya looked at the familiar numbers, a sarcastic sneer appeared on her lips, and pressed the call button. End of this chapter.